Just slightly, Drew.
You could come up a notch.
Yeah.
Slight hair
Mm-hmm.
Care
Hair bear.
bears. Does
Yes.
that sound good?
That's great.
Care Bear hairs. And we're live.
We're
Welcome to
live.
Trailer Talk. How's my audio sound? Audio check. We
Audio
check
check
audio
one
live
two.
now. That's
Check
just
check
how
two.
we.
Yeah,
That's just how we roll.
that's what our chat's here for, right?
We. Well, yeah. I mean, listen. If it's not tech support for the first 5 minutes, then we're doing something wrong.
Haha,
Hey,
true.
Chad.
Hey Chad, hey Crow, hey Ian, hey Watery, hey EJ, hey Watery Tart Brandy. Jesus, like, see, this is the thing I have to like now.
You have to
I
remember.
know everybody, so I have
Their
to.
name.
I see their name, and yeah, like I gotta use. Do I use their real name
Oh,
or their code name?
I'm always like that though as well, because I'm like, maybe they're
PJ.
online as like Crow 7 Blah for a reason. And me just being like, oh hey
Right,
Ian,
right.
is like
They
outing
wanna
them from
be
something, and I'm
anonymous.
like, shit, I'm so sorry.
Yeah.
Oh my
You're just
god.
taking him
Right?
out of it.
Yeah, I'm sorry
Taking
about that,
him
Ian.
out of it.
That's my bad. That's my or not Ian
Or
It's hard.
or
Mr. T. I don't know.
Crow 7 Blah. Nice.
You may call me Tart. I will. Damn it. I will.
Only
call
in
you Tart.
bed, Brandon.
Guys, I'm gonna
Jeez.
jump right into it. We got two big trailers to watch today. I'm super excited. If you haven't seen, if you're listening right now, you're hearing a voice that is not Stephanie Judge. You are in fact actually hearing Stephanie Watson, who is joining us because we are watching the Ahsoka trailer, and Steph Watson is like literally the like de facto like she's basically Yoda when it comes to everything around inside.
True.
Star Wars, especially Ahsoka. Ahsoka is her jam. She's been writing like literally weekly, by like 2 articles a week. It seems like on
Just
preparing
one.
everyone for Ahsoka. Like, listen, I'm a big Star Wars nerd. I've seen all of Rebels. I've seen all of Clone Wars. I've watched all the movies. I read some of the novels, not all of them. I used to read all the comics. I'm not into the comics anymore. I just don't have time. But like, I'm like, what's going? Like, I'll put in the CouchSoup community is like, oh wow, what's going on here in this trailer? And Stephanie's like, well, actually, in episode 4.5, Sabine trained with, and I'm like, holy shit, like that is awesome. Like I'm here thinking like I'm like hot shit, and Stephanie always puts me in my place. So she's here to continue to do that, which is great. And then also, as always, Pagan, who will
Hello.
continue to provide as little knowledge on Star Wars as
Absolutely.
which is great. Thank you for
I'm
being
here to represent the
both of
audience
you.
that know relatively little about Star
Right.
Wars at all, ever.
All right.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
You're welcome.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you for that. But we are going to be watching also the San Diego Comic-Con just passed. Not as big mini trailers dropped as normal for San Diego Comic-Con. A very, very minimal con if just because of the writer strike and the actor strike. So, but they did drop the genv trailer, which is the spin-off series for The Boys. So we're going to be watching that, and the Red Band trailer. So if you're squirmish, don't stick around for the second half of the show. But I do want to. I wanted, guys. What do you think? Sorry, I was going to talk about Comic Con, but it's such a like. There's really not much to talk about. I thought maybe we talk about the Barbenheimer aftermath
Okay.
of it all. So if you're living in a hole somewhere, maybe, and you have no idea what's going on anywhere, Oppenheimer and Barbie came out last weekend and literally blew away the box office. The fourth biggest box office weekend ever. 18.5 million people bought movie tickets for those two movies. That is like tremendous, guys. Like that's like Spider-Man No Way Home level of attendance. This is like Avengers Infinity War, like even better than type of outpouring to the theaters. So I'm gonna throw out some just general questions, and I want to get your thoughts, guys. What does this mean for like all the talk of like, okay, movie theaters are dying, people are staying at home, they just want to stream movies. What are your thoughts on that? And then also, I want to get your thoughts on like the fact that these were two movies that are new IPs, like original ideas in a sense. Like obviously Barbie is a thing, but no one's made a Barbie movie ever before. Oppenheimer's a new thing by Christopher Nolan. Both have giant casts, like big star, big star casts. Like what does all this mean? Are we moving away from superheroes, and is that something, is the fatigue for real now? Like is it like we're all in, or and like I don't know, what are you feeling after this? What's the vibe?
Please
Pagan, you
tell
wanna
me
go
we're
first?
moving away from superhero movies. Please. Stop it. Stop it. I don't want to see
I
another
would like
superhero movie unless
Yeah.
it's Zack
little
Snyder's
break.
verse. No, but seriously, I think that it's great that Barbie and Oppenheimer have come out together. I thought it was really well timed. I think it's probably one of the best like duo screenings in like the history. I think we've had similar kind of events before, but not to the scale. I think the scale has been really massive. Barbie has like just done amazing at the box office. So good. But I'm so happy for original ideas to come to the stage. And of course, one of them was directed by a woman, which I think is fantastic as well. So I think that it is such a good move forward. And I would hopefully see more of these original IPs coming together. And Barbie movies have been made, of course, like animated movies. And then there was Life Size with Lindsay Lohan and Tyra Banks before that we'd mentioned on the show, which is kind of the same thing. She was so Lindsay Lohan had a doll.
That was a fever dream.
Lindsay Lohan had a doll, and it was Tyra Banks, and she came to life, and it was life size. So it kind of has been touched on before, but not to the scale, not to the Barbie branding, not in a real life situation. And I have seen both movies, and they have been absolutely spectacular on both of their levels, like so different. Somebody once asked me though, they were like, "Which did you prefer?" And I'm like, "You can't ask me that. That's like watching Toy Story and watching Schindler's List." And then asking me which is better. Like you literally can't put them in the same category. It's just not.
I mean,
they're not
Schindler's List
comparable.
is better. Let's just put that out there as well.
No,
I mean,
no,
I think
as
we
in
can
like
make
they're
that
just
call.
not
I
like
mean, really?
comparable. Like they're in different categories.
Yes.
But both are a good time.
Really though, I mean,
As movies, yeah, they couldn't be further fucking apart. But honestly, I was hoping for a little bit of a cameo from like Barbie and Oppenheimer at the end or something, you know. All right.
Well, I think
right?
what was
That's a missed opportunity.
Right.
Sorry, go ahead, Steph.
Yeah, I was going to say that I think that the big draw to the theater was the fact that they were both coming out at the same time, and everyone was talking about the sharp contrast between them. So it was like an event.
Yes.
Like it's a place you want to be at a point in your life that's not going to come around again, that these two movies have this juxtaposition and all these amazing things are going to go on social media as a result. So everyone wanted to be there and experience it. And that's how I was feeling about it anyway. And I think that's going to be the thing that would draw people to theaters. It's got to be an event. It can't just be you throw up your next feature film with a big title on it and, you know, multi-million-dollar budget. It's got to feel like an event, a reason for someone to go to the theater. Like the Spider-Verse movies, for example, we all know how amazing they are visually. So people want to go to the theater to see them because of the visual experience they have. So that's my thought. It has to be an event.
I think also though, like there's such a big following for both directors, like for Chris Nolan and for Greta Gerwig. Like I think that there is just such a huge like cult following for each of them that it just seemed to be like right place, right time. These films just happened to fall together on the same day. And it was a very good match because they're so opposite that, like Steph was saying, that it's just like an event. I went to the cinema and we were in Oppenheimer in the evening, and there were people who had just come out of Barbie in suits, like in tuxes with bow ties. And then they sat into Oppenheimer and watched that. And I was like,
wow.
That was great. Like everybody we went to see Barbie with was wearing pink. Like it just felt like such an event that it wasn't just cinema. It felt like a full human experience to go and see these two movies together on the same day, which is what we witnessed definitely. So it was really cool. So I think it's a move forward for cinema with like brand new IPs, but also I don't know if we're going to get this same kind of double whammy again for a long time. I think this was coincidence that happened to fall really well for a good social media platform. And then it just took off.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's very memeable.
Well, yeah, and
Super
props,
memeable.
like let's just like slow clap to the Barbie PR team that just like crushed it here. Like
shot out the
amount
water.
of, like
So good.
they just I don't even know like the amount of money they must have poured into just the PR activations after they kind of saw this steamroll. I mean, just pretty incredible. And then for an Oppenheimer just to kind of like tag along, you know, like to kind of be just along for the ride of that, which was great to kind of. I do think this has. You're right. It's a bit of a perfect storm, and I could see the studios in their like they're big boardrooms, like really expensive boardrooms that they spend a lot of money on, and their big suits, and they're all up there thinking like, how do we recreate this? What do we do? And like next summer we got to like plan 2 movies. We'll work with 20th Century and Paramount, or like. But listen, like you can't force this. This has to be an organic. I feel like the moment you try to recreate something like this, it's gonna just fall flat. I think this was just like a weird perfect storm, and I still think the decline of theaters is here, right? I still think
Okay.
it'll go back to normal, right? Like I think this was a blip in the radar. I think people are sort of like, they're back, we're movie theaters, and I'm like, well, I think this was a weird. This is kind of like the Game of Thrones finale kind of vibe, and then it's all gonna go back to normal. But
I also
yeah,
think
it'll be interesting to see. How it all
these are
shakes
the
out.
films you want to see in the cinema. Like maybe Barbie, like you could
Yeah.
watch Barbie at home, but I feel like Oppenheimer, you want to see it in IMAX. You want to see it in the best way possible. So I
Right.
think for that reason, I think theater isn't dead. But I will say that there was a very long period of time where there were films coming to the cinema that you're like, I could watch it at home, or I'll just wait until it comes out in Disney Plus.
Yep.
I don't have to pay the $60 whatever it is
Yeah.
to go for me and my husband to go and see the cinema. So
It's just,
I think that
just-
events
it's
like
very-
this will help thrive the cinema.
I agree. It's just very interesting that like when you look just a few weeks ago, we had
Yeah.
Mission Impossible, which was a franchise that is like the movie to see on the big screen because
Yep.
of the stunts and the action scenes. Underperformed from a standpoint of like what it cost to make. Obviously, it's still making a ton of money, but from on a scale. And then
Yeah.
you had Indiana Jones 4, which similar, like that's like a movie made for movie theaters. Still kind of underperformed based on the budget. It's huge, expensive movies. Like it made like 80 million in the first weekend, but still considering how much it made,
Yeah.
it cost to promote the movie and make the movie was like 300 million something to make that film. So, like it just when you look at the scale of those and you think like big IP sequel, like big stars still in that, but then you have these two kind of like Barbie and Oppenheimer, right? And you're like, it's like this. It's something to kind of take note. I think this is a weird moment of. I think people are hungry, and I hope for new ideas and new and big prestige directors kind of coming in and giving people new ideas, and I hope that this is maybe a slight turn for Hollywood to kind of recognize like, hey, let's maybe put some money into a great director with a great cast. That's a new thing that isn't like a sequel
Yeah.
times 7. So we'll see.
Would agree.
Speaking of, and I think what was interesting too is like I almost wish I went out this weekend to the theater. I just couldn't get away to see them. But you mentioned that it was like kind of an experience, seeing everybody dressed in pink, and everybody kind of like getting into the vibe of it, right? And that reminded me of like standing in line for the Star Wars prequels, right? Like
Oh,
the
yes.
Yeah.
energy around that. Like we would all
that.
camp out like for a week to get tickets, and then another week just to get seats, right? Because this was before you had assigned seating, so you had to get in line if you wanted a good seat, and people were camping out for weeks before the movie opened.
Wow.
And I guess
was so
I
hot
hadn't
that
seen
day.
that in a long time, and like that kind of fandom, that kind of feverish need to kind of see it opening weekend and like go and be a
Yeah.
gathering. I think that's really cool. I think that those are far and few between now, and it's cool to see that kind of happen again. And I'm glad people get to experience that, I guess, because I remember those days. They were really cool. Which is a great segue to talk about Star Wars. Ahsoka is, we finally get a full trailer for Ahsoka. The last trailer we watched here on CouchSoup was, I think, 6 months ago. It was like a teaser.
God.
Gave us a little bit of little inkling. We didn't really. I think we saw the back of the head of Grand Admiral Thrawn, and we got a little bit of Ahsoka, a little bit of Sabine, a shot of Hera. You kind of get a sense of like where this is going. But this new trailer, I think, it dives a little bit more. We get a little bit more of who the bad guys are, maybe what they're after. And whatnot, and I kind of. Do you want to set this up even any more stuff, or of what we?
I thought you were gonna ask me. I was like, well, Rosario Dawson's in it. She's blue.
Yeah.
Well, she's got blue. She's got blue bits, and Space battles.
Yeah.
That's it. That's all I got. Go ahead,
Let's
Steph.
just watch the trailer and then we'll go with it.
Okay.
Yeah, I like it. I like the way your head's at. Yeah, let's watch this trailer. Let's go.
Let's see what comes up.
I am
Okay.
ready.
Fair. All right, I'm pressing play. In 3, 2, 1, play. Ooh.
Is inevitable. One must destroy
Okay.
in order to create. We are no Jedi.
I started
Oh, it's
hearing
dark.
whispers
It's dark.
of Thrawn's return as heir to the Empire.
What happens when we find Thrawn?
Power. Such as you've never dreamed.
I've spent most of my life fighting
Yes.
a war. That's why I'm trying to convince you to help me prevent
she
another
is.
one.
Wow.
Chopper.
You and I both know who could help you with this.
She's still just as stubborn as ever.
Luke
I
Skywalker.
bet your master found you difficult at times.
Anakin never got to finish my training. I
Oh.
walked away from him, just like I walked away from Sabine.
You never made things easy for me, Master.
So much badass.
As a Jedi, sometimes you have to make the decision.
What's
no one
going
else
on
can.
right now? I'm
So I'm
freaking out.
counting on
Is
you
she
to see this
Mandalorian?
through.
Wait.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nice haircut.
What? Wait, what?
Sometimes we have to do what's right, regardless of our personal feelings.
Yes.
Buckle up.
Dude, they literally recreated the painting.
If we don't stop Thrawn, everything will be in vain. You have no
There he
power.
is.
Ooh.
Anakin spoke highly of you.
Awesome.
I'm not here to discuss my past.
We have a lot of work to do.
Once a rebel, always a rebel.
Okay, ladies. A 2-episode premiere.
Yes.
Oh.
Dude.
I'm so glad.
Dude.
They probably need it.
That's what we're talking about.
That is
Right?
you're
Yeah.
slightly frozen, so apologies for
Wow.
everybody watching this on YouTube.
Oh no!
Drew is frozen in amazement.
I am frozen.
In amazement. In shock
That's,
and
that's
awe.
just yes. Good news is. Yeah.
Good news is we can
There
still
go.
hear you.
Is it better? No. Yes.
No.
No. Maybe. Yeah. Okay. Good. Good.
Oh, bye, Drew.
Oh
As I said that. Oh my God. As I said that. Oh, hold on. Let me go to technical difficulty. All right, we're back.
Ahsoka was so good at fucking crash my computer.
no! Oh,
Yeah, facts. It crashed the stream, man.
Yeah, it was just like I can't handle the bit rate. Death Star. I don't know if you saw the look on my face, but that trailer is awesome.
Yeah.
Just my quick thoughts. Sabine looks great.
she looks
Ahsoka
amazing.
looks awesome.
Do we know her already?
Chopper. Yeah. So she was in Rebels and in Rebels. So we were introduced to her in Rebels. There's some drops I want to get into with you on stuff of they drop some stuff that let's talk about that in a little bit. But just the initial reaction. This looks really good. This doesn't quite feel as grounded as Andor, but it feels much more like the quality here feels better than Obi-Wan and even Mandalorian. It just feels there's something here. They've spent some time. I don't know what it is, but there's just there's some, it just feels right. Like this feels like in tonality, like it feels like darker and more introspective and interesting, which I'm here for. I love seeing Darkseid back, the red lightsabers. I don't know what it is when you see a red lightsaber. I just get super jazzed, and they just look very menacing. And the fact that they're just taking out rebel troops is just I'm here for it, and it just sets up the tone of like Ahsoka's gonna just come in and just do her thing. This looks really good. I guess I'm a little anxious because my hype level is getting really in, and I don't want to be disappointed on this show.
I'm the
so
same way.
I'm trying to temper my expectations, but I'm super stoked for this. I think
really
Dave Filoni, this is his sort of I don't know. He's been building up to this, I feel like, for a long time. Like for all the shows he's been doing with between Clone Wars, Rebels, Mandalorian, I felt like Boba Fett. I felt like it's all like he's learned so much, and it's like now's the time to put all that learning and storytelling and to this feels like it's not his magnum opus or anything, but it feels like this is sort of, it's all led to here, right? And I'm kind of excited to see that come to fruition and to see if he can land that quote unquote ship. I don't know. I'm super stoked. Let's go to Pagan real quick. I want to just get your general thoughts. Because if Steph starts talking, I'm going to ask questions.
Okay, that's fair. Okay. Okay, so initial impressions, I really love that there is a nice big female cast in this. They look really, really cool. I don't know who any of the characters are, what they're doing and what not. But I think it looks really cool. I think the stunts look excellent in this. Costume, set design. This looked very good. This looks like one of the better, I guess, franchise shows that we have on Disney Plus. Like, there are some that I'm just like, not really interested in. Whereas this I can actually watch. Like, I did watch Mandalorian. I really did like that show. So this kind of gives me similar vibes in maybe stunts and kind of atmosphere. Like, the score sounds great. The scripting also seems okay so far. I haven't seen something amazing. Haven't seen something terrible. But I think maybe a lot of my stuff, like, the stuff is going over my head. But, like, at face value, it looks very well. I thought the trailer was done very well with the stunts, the ladies, the coloring on this, like the lightsabers and stuff, really cool. Yeah, that's all I got. Face value, it looks cool. I would actually watch this.
Oh, cool. All right, Steph. What are you thinking? Where's your head?
You know, I'm on the Rebels hype train. I'm all Rebels, and so seeing Sabine, seeing Hera and Chopper, the best droid in the galaxy, pure chaos. Any of those, the characters, and that was one of the reasons I was doing those articles for notes, because like unless you've seen Rebels, you have no clue who these people are that's popping up on your screen. Like, they're going to have to provide some explanation of that right at the beginning. Hopefully they'll keep it concise and encourage people to watch Rebels instead of trying to replace telling the Rebels story.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, this I'm just so excited. It's in Rebels, even though like Rebels in general is like my favorite part of Star Wars. My favorite part within that is Kanan and Ezra, and the master and Padawan relationship that they had kind of developed in Rebels, and the arc that Ezra went through from the start to the finish in that. So the idea of Sabine going to look for Ezra is, of course, close to my heart. I'm like, yes, let's get some Ezra in here. But of course, seeing Sabine as well is also so exciting.
Yeah, and I'm glad you brought that up, because I think that's my biggest, like, the big reveal in this trailer to me, right? Like, aside from like the Grand Admiral Thrawn side of it, and the fact that they're kind of hinting at telling the Thrawn trilogy, which is fascinating in its own right. But I think what's fascinating for me, if you ever watched Rebels, and I'm speaking as to the world, not to you guys. If you've ever watched Rebels, you're right. It's sort of like the Jedi Padawan story, Ezra and Kanan, right? But what's interesting is they're kind of paralleling that, it seems like in this trailer, by the revealing that Sabine is calling Ahsoka her master. Yeah. Like hinting that there was time where she was training her, in the Jedi ways. I'm using Jedi loosely here, right? Because we know, nerds know that Ahsoka walked away from the Jedi, so she's not truly a Jedi. Trained by Jedi, uses the Force, uses lightsabers, like does things for good, right? Like, but she doesn't quite follow the Jedi order, right? The laws that they have, so that's interesting in the fact that she's training Sabine, who we've never seen that she's a Force user, right?
No.
And here in the trailer, we get a clear shot of her fighting a Sith, we assume is a Sith, with a lightsaber, and then she actually says the words "Master" to Ahsoka. What, like Steph, break it down. Like, what's going on here in your mind? Where do you see this going? And
I don't want to leap right into Force territory here. I remember that Sabine, when she had the Darksaber, was trained by Kanan and Ezra to use the Darksaber. And she made a lot of emotional breakthroughs that allowed her to form a connection, a bond with that weapon. And on and off through the rest of Rebels, she ended up having to use Ezra's saber once in a while, and that's the saber she's got now. So I don't know that I would want to jump right into Force territory so much as maybe she was just being trained how to fight in this way or to use this particular weapon, or I don't know. Could be a little bit of everything.
Yeah, I mean, and the other line that is really striking here, and I'm glad they put it in the trailer, as you see her, there's a shot where she's on the ground and like has her hand forward, and the next shot is I'm blanking on her name. It's like Ivana Shakano, who's playing Shin Hati. I think is like the a dark wielder of the Force. Like she's the one coming out the door with the red lightsaber. She's the female sort of Sith. She's like, you have no power, and it looks like the same shot. So it looks like she is like angry at Sabine, the fact that she's like countering her with Jedi abilities, but she's not a Force user, which is kind of mind blowing to think of. Like, again, my mind is exploding here because if Filoni in his infinite wisdom is saying like you don't need to be a Force user to be like a Jedi in a sense, and again I'm using Jedi loosely as in the term of like someone who wields a lightsaber who is fighting for good, right? Like you know what I'm saying? Like you can still do Jedi things even if you're not a Jedi. Does that make sense? It's sort of like that's an interesting thing to think about. Like there could be people out there being Jedi but not Jedi. I don't know. I think that's an interesting way to kind of like frame the future of Star Wars in a way, right? You don't. It's not always about the Force to be a person of good, right? You know what I'm saying? Like the hero of your story, I guess.
Where in the timeline does all this take place then?
5 years after the second Death Star, I think, blew up.
Correct. Yeah, after Return of the Jedi. So the
Oh,
Empire.
okay. So this is after the big films, right?
Right after Return of the Jedi, where Darth Vader dies, Luke Skywalker saves Anakin. The Anakin we know, Death Star blows up, the Empire falls.
I see.
Leia is the general, the new leader of the rebellion, or the future. No longer the rebellion. It's now the, what do they call it? New Order, or not New Order? Alliance. I forget. Whatever they called it in the prequels.
Well, basically, so it's taking place after the original films, before the before the newer sequels. Okay,
Yeah,
so here's
what's the Shadow Council right now, because the Shadow Council is kind of making the plans for the return of Palpatine.
Correct. Yeah. So Thrawn is the new. He gets sent off. So Steph, correct me if I'm wrong here, but at the end of Rebels, him and Ezra, the space whales take them away to like some unknown, like other galaxy. We don't know where they are. They're gone. Yeah. And on his flagship Star Destroyer, right? Like, or did they take the whole fleet or just that one ship?
If you look at it, it looks like they took more of the fleet. Like they took the Chimera the flagship for sure, but
Right.
you can kind of see in the background them grabbing other ships as
yeah.
if they're going to take them into hyperspace as well. And there is a shot, it's like a split second in the trailer where you see like what looks like a fleet of ships that's that's been half destroyed, and I'm like, is this the Seventh Fleet or some remnants of the Seventh Fleet that's been destroyed? I don't know.
Yeah. So no, it's fast. So imagine like everyone thinks the Empire is gone, right? And then Thrawn shows up with literally a fleet of Star Destroyers, like not just a fleet, but like a powerful, like highly trained, like these guys are ruthless type of fleet. Like this is the fleet like that destroyed like Calamari, I think, like Mon Calamari. Like they were like one of the more like ruthless battalions or whatever you want to call them of the Empire, right?
Some
Imagine
of the
they
best
return,
trained
right?
Parts of the Empire, yeah.
And Thrawn is an incredible tactician, so like he's not going to just like come in and like do something stupid. Like he's very smart. So that's what's setting this up, this idea that the Empire is kind of coming back, right? And but with a new
leader
face, which is Grand Admiral Thrawn. So and that's what Ahsoka is obviously trying to stop, but also I guess try to find Ezra Bridger, who was lost in that getaway as well in the end of Rebels. The thing I think they're gonna have to like figure out a way, and guys, work with me here. Luke Skywalker is still like young and hip and cool and could take on. He just literally like he's a Jedi Knight, like Jedi Master at this point, building his training academy.
Yeah.
We saw him on The Mandalorian with Ahsoka, right? Like we know they're friends, they're buddies, right? Like like Sith, like there's literally two Sith. They're after enormous power. Thrawn's going to be coming into the picture. How are they going to retcon or nerf Luke Skywalker not being in this story, right? Like, and coming in and be like, oh, okay, here I am, I'm going to save the day, right? Like, clearly this is Ahsoka's story, but like Luke is still the Jedi, like the guy right now, still alive.
Do you think
she
they'll
could
do a
clearly
cameo?
go to him. I would have to think so, right? I don't know.
Well, my thought is, and this came up in, it's come up in Star Wars a lot. Like, why are the same few people always doing this or this or this? And my thought in this case is Luke's goal right now is to rebuild a group and to train a new generation. And he really has to dedicate the time to doing that. And if there is another person who is as capable as he is to face these other concerns, then why would he go? Is he really needed to be there?
True.
While he has these other responsibilities to build, he's looking at the bigger picture, the longer effort of taking someone who is just new to the Force and getting them to where he and Ahsoka are. And if we lose both of those people, we lose the ability to carry on.
I mean,
that
unless
Jedi
they do
legacy.
like Luke Skywalker without having to do Luke Skywalker, like Luke Skywalker off screen. Like just like maybe they come through as messages, like droid messages, or like maybe they're coming through as correspondence instead. Like if that's even needed, but I think maybe it's like this is Ahsoka's business. Like she's got this. Luke's got bigger things to worry about, like Steph's saying.
Yeah, it's they're running into the same problem that we're like everyone has when like Marvel now, right? Like whenever there's like a Marvel side quest with like Ant-Man, you're like, well, why don't you just call fucking Thor, or like, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's the same. They have to find a way to sort of move that person off the board, right? So that they're not a playable character in this thing, right? Because like again, I think they need that moment, to your point, Steph, where like she's talking to Luke and you take care of this, right? Like you know, like there's a disturbance in the, I mean, clearly he would know, right? Like he's connected to the Force. He's very powerful. He's the most powerful Jedi alive at this moment, right? Force user even. He could clearly sense that there's like something afoot here if these Sith are around murdering people and using Force in the Sith manner. So it's going to be interesting to see how they kind of move him off the board, right? Like I guess I'm fascinated by that as a storytelling tactic, because it's sort of like, again, like you could like call the Hulk, you know, like just to take care of this, you know, like, you know, kind of. It'll be interesting, and but I do think there's going to be a little bit of we're going to get a CGI young Luke like we did in Mandalorian to kind of do that handoff. I think that needs to be done in some way.
I don't know though. I feel like the de-aging CGI stuff is always just cringe. No, does anybody else feel like it's just so cringe?
Because we know.
Yeah, it completely takes you out of the stuff. Like I understand like kids who may never have seen this before and who are really invested, and they'll be fine. But I just think like for the mass of their audience, the majority of their audience are very full, big fans. They already know. They're of the age group to have seen all of the movies. So I feel like, I just feel like that is just cringe. And I hope this director doesn't rely on that kind of thing. I think it's better to do some kind of correspondence. Even if you're going to do like a digital Android message, at least you can like digitize the whole thing in a way and not just the face. It's just so cringy. It looks weird. So I'm hoping not.
Well, and I'm also hoping that we don't. So one of the complaints from even from people who love Lord of the Rings is why aren't the eagles just everywhere? Because the eagles in Lord of the Rings could have just taken them. They just could have picked up the hobbits.
They can't interfere. That's the thing.
Why didn't they just?
They're not allowed to take a side.
I just don't want Luke Skywalker to become the Eagles of Star Wars. You know, how do we defeat this?
Yeah, but I think like
Luke Skywalker.
Look, Luke Skywalker is a really cool Jedi and everything, and he's like the master and all this bullshit. But I think that like he's not Neo. Okay,
right.
Like he's not, you know, he's not gonna like manipulate the universe and change everything.
I mean, I'm just gonna say. I mean, he's pretty much the Neo.
He's pretty much the chosen one. Okay.
Star Wars. Yeah. I mean, literally, he defeats the dark side. He fucking saves the universe from the Emperor and Darth Vader. I mean,
he didn't do fucking well, did he? Because we were getting all these bloody theories and more bad guys are still coming up. Do your fucking job right, Skywalker. Let's go.
Let's go.
What are you doing? Are you on a holiday or something? Well, you don't pay overtime? Jesus.
He's like, I'm busy on a planet training little dudes. Like, listen, I ain't got time for
guys. I need a holiday, okay? I just went to the beach planet, and I had to just get my beach on. Some margaritas. I'll be back in a week.
Jedi dad. Yeah, he's doing Jedi dad things and
Jedi dad things.
He's
just Jedi dad things. # lol.
Like, Ahsoka, you go do fun, youthful Jedi things. I'm a dad now.
He's totally in improv mode right now. It's like, how do you rebuild an order you were never really a part of?
True.
Yeah.
You know?
Like, someone needs to whisper into his ear, hey, by the way, all that shit's gonna go fucking really bad for you, by the way. Like, Kylo Ren's gonna murder all those motherfuckers, and
yeah, maybe don't waste your time, bro.
And
it's
you're gonna go,
waste of time.
You're gonna go into exile and drink blue milk and become a cranky old asshole. And then maybe he would have gone with Ahsoka to help Pete, right? Like, you know, like, hey, it's not going to go well. I mean, I'm just going to throw it out there.
To be fair, right? Ahsoka in the trailer did say that Anakin trained her for a little bit and then she stepped away from him. So maybe she's like, Skywalker, bad blood. Don't want to touch that. Maybe, maybe not. Like,
they had good blood. She just had to step away from the Order, and since Anakin had stayed with the Order,
right? Oh, I see. Well, turns out she was right. Anakin turned out to be a bit of a crazy. So, yeah.
But she
probably good call, Ahsoka.
Rebels,
I'm just saying.
So,
yeah. Again, I think to your point, Steph, there's a lot of those moments where if like you watch Rebels, there's going to be a lot of payoff here. But I really there's going to be it'll be interesting the storytelling tactics they use to sort of inform the viewer who's never seen Rebels enough to kind of so they understand, but not overly so that you feel like you're in retcon constantly. You're constantly sort of like in playing catch up on a show. It'll be fascinating. The other. Oh, go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say, and going back to the Sabine thing, because we won't jump right into is she force sensitive, but why wasn't she at Bo-Katan's side? you know, at you know, when they gathered to defend against Moff Gideon, and so I'd like to know the answer of what her connection is now with the rest of Mandalore.
That's a great point too. I didn't even consider that, right? Because it's Sabine is sort of like a I don't want to say like an oddball Mandalorian, but she's definitely like
she's her own.
Like she kind of plays the Mandalorian rules loose and fast, right? She uses their tactics and their battle techniques, their fighting techniques and their armor, but like as far as like Mandalorian like law or like order, like she's definitely not like
kind of like Ahsoka and the Jedi.
Right. Yeah.
Good parallels.
That's a good point. That's a good point, actually. Very good point.
Thank you.
But yeah, it'd be interesting to. Yeah.
Thanks.
I know. Pagan said something useful. Thank you.
You're welcome.
But yeah, we can get.
I
on
was
to
paying
your next
attention.
question. Sorry about that.
Oh no. I just wanted to talk about one other thing, which was like the attention to detail. In this, like we see the painting on the wall. That is literally the painting that is exactly the painting in the cartoon. So it's literally the cartoon versions.
I was actually thinking that. I was going to ask you if that was like the animated series.
They painted in live action exactly how it looks in the cartoon. So it's the cartoon versions of the characters on the wall. So like that type of detail is very cool. As well as just the overall detail of even like the outfits and the locations. We get to see what's the home world that
Lothal.
Lothal, thank you. We get to see Lothal in the tower that Sabine is living in, as we all knew was like kind of like the headquarters at the end there for Rebels. And just like the way Chopper looks, like it all just looks. The attention to details, I guess I'm just kind of nerding out over it because it's just very, just it feels so on point, and I'm very excited by that. Is there anything that caught you, Steph, like from like something in the trailer that you're like, I'm glad they did that, or they brought that to life?
A lot of it is the imagery, like just the look of Lothal. It just looks like it came straight out of Rebels. There's a shot where you see Sabine in the tower on kind of looking over the railing toward Capital City. And that is the identical shot that we first see Ezra in Rebels, standing in that same position looking out toward the city. So to me, it was like, wow, this is like little parallels and things. So, yeah. And Sabine being badass with that speeder, like
right,
sliding under that. I'm like,
I'm telling you, the stunts are gonna be cool.
Yeah,
she's badass. She is badass. I can't wait to see some badass fighting.
One last theory. What do you think is the power that the Sith are looking for Thrawn? Like when they say like, what are we searching for? And he's like, infinite power. Do you have any theories? Do you have any
Luke Skywalker
anticipation? Yeah.
So in the Thrawn novels, Thrawn joined the Empire as a way of figuring out whether the Empire could help the Chiss with a threat that was bigger than anything else that anyone could. Well, and the novels explain what that threat is and how it's affected the Chiss people, and so he has been evaluating during his entire service to the Empire of what that next step is going to be. How does he then take this force and use it to help defend the Chiss as well? So I have a feeling that some of what's going on is a combination of Thrawn's goal in that realm, as well as the goal to bring back Palpatine. I think there's kind of like some alignment with those two goals somewhere along the way, and that these people are all just trying to serve to that end. So that's me. That's my thoughts.
No, that's a good call out. I didn't think about the Palpatine tie-in, and they've kind of been hinting at that with Mandalorian at the last season too, which which it's interesting. It's like they hire Dave Filoni to fix all the problems in all the movies, right? It's like, hey, there's all these weird plot problems in the sequels and in the prequels. Hey, can you make a series that kind of like makes all that shit work together better? And that's kind of like his job. Like he kind of comes in and says like, yeah, Palpatine, why did Palpatine come out of the fucking nowhere in Revenge of the Sith or whatever? And he's like, I'm going to explain how that came to be, right? Like I'm going to use the Ahsoka to help explain her Mandalorian. Like that's kind of his. It seems like that's his job. Like he's there to kind of like sweep all that shit up and make it feel all nice and tidy. That's interesting that you brought that up. I didn't think about that. Thrawn's an interesting villain. I hope they don't give him. They don't do him disservice. I hope he feels menacing. I'm excited.
Spoiler alert. Me and Lily Kay are probably going to Thrawn out on our watching now when we start watching Ahsoka. Just like so much Thrawn.
I love it. Yeah, so like let's talk about that real quick. You guys have you're going to be doing a podcast that's going to be doing a weekly recap and breakdown of each episode of Ahsoka on Watching Now podcast on CouchSoup.
Yeah, we'll also do an episode prior to the series to kind of set the stage, introduce everyone, and tell what we're looking forward to as well.
Yeah. Awesome.
Sweet.
Well, that's gonna wrap it up, guys, for Mandalorian. I think we're all kind of jazzed to see this. I think it's a big swing, and there's a lot of politics I think that might play. I think this has to be successful for them. I think Star Wars needs a big win. I think Andor set the stage, and I think if they can continue that run, I think it would be really good for the Star Wars brand, and I think it needs it desperately. So we'll see. We'll all have our fingers crossed in anticipation for this. We're going to take just a quick break, and then we're going to come back and watch genv trailer. I don't know why I said it like that. That's
why
weird,
not?
Right? Anyway, I don't know. I don't know. All right, guys, thanks. Let's cue up genv, guys. This is the spin-off series to The Boys. Which
yes.
Amazon.
Which I am not
Amazon.
caught up on, but I'm still...
You're not caught up on... Well, I don't think this is going to have any spoilers.
I went through
so
like
don't worry
a
about
season
that.
and a half, and I got to get caught up.
Yeah, and if you're not familiar with The Boys, it's a very like brutal, bloody like take on if superheroes were immoral and had infinite power, right, in a real world scenario, and were run kind of by a corporation like Disney, right? Like imagine like an evil Disney kind of that was in charge of superheroes, right? It's very, very cool, very dark, very, very, very visceral show, and it looks like they're kind of taking it to kind of a younger audience. So let's just dive into it. It's made by the same creator, Greg Rosenberg, who did The Boys.
Also, shout out to EJP for the soup. Thank you so much, and take care. We'll see you next time.
Yeah, buddy. Thanks, EJ.
All right, I'm going to press play on Gen V trailer in 3, 2, 1, play.
Being a hero is not about glory. It's about sacrifice.
That guy kind of reminds me of EJ.
Welcome to Godolphin University.
Clancy Brown.
We've trained the best and brightest young heroes since 1965. Godolphin is a safe space for you to thrive. Marie Moreau, you could be the first top-ranked freshman in history.
I think you meant to say first black woman in the 7.
You have a target on your back.
A few of us are going off campus. Let's have a good time.
That is handy.
I'm still drunk from last night.
Perfect, just take a sip, say Turbo Rush cures hangovers.
I wouldn't pour this on my dick if it cured cancer.
Oh, okay then.
There are dangerous, evil people at that school.
No thank you.
Everything is fucked.
Oh no.
What happened to that dog?
I exploded his dick. Tag team cocksplosion.
Wow. No.
Freshman class is savage this year.
You know.
All right then.
Wow.
Well, I know you guys are just here for the dick explosions, but
Obviously. Thank God you said it. Yeah, fair.
What do you guys think?
Sorry,
Pagan?
I am
Go for
my anime fan friends know that I'm a huge fan of My Hero Academia, and I'm like, if The Boys, if My Hero Academia was set in the Boys universe, that's what we're looking at.
Totally. It's sort of like I was describing it as like if you know they were like, you know what, X-Men Xavier's School for the Gifted.
Literally, that's what I was thinking. Yeah. It's X-Men, but dark X-Men.
Right. Yeah.
It's basically
it's
it.
like, but it all went really bad.
Yeah.
like,
yes.
like Clancy Brown is like just a really shitty Xavier. You know. Like,
I swear though, Clancy Brown, like with the short hair, looks just like PJ. Like he just reminds me of PJ. No, like come on.
I see it. That's fun.
Yeah. He's awesome.
What do you? I mean, are you guys in? What do you think? Any reservations here?
I'll watch it because I like The Boys.
Totally.
So, like, yeah.
I'm a little like I don't know, the blood power thing. I don't like, what a weird superpower to kind of like make your main protagonist sort of have. I don't know what, like, that's just like I don't know.
Yeah, it
it's
seems
just to
more
slit
like
her
an
hands in
evil-
order to like.
Yeah.
Yeah, she
I'm like
controls
a
her
little
blood.
on
Her
the-
blood can move stuff.
And why not like other liquids? Like I just don't like. I'm trying to wrap my head around like why that's a super. That seems like a superpower you wouldn't want. Like out of the list of superpowers to get, you're like, I want to be able to shoot my blood at people. Be like, excuse me.
Yeah,
just gonna be anemic and tired after every fight.
Totally. Like I need a protein bar ASAP. And
Someone
some
get this
fucking
lady a
Gatorade.
cookie. God.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Fuck.
I don't think this will be for me. I don't want to watch it. Not because of out of any reason other than like I'm just not into overly gory shows. I watched the first season of The Boys and I'm just not into it. It's just like it makes me uncomfortable and then it like gives me anxiety and I'm like, listen, I'm an already very heavily filled anxiety bean and I don't need any more anxiety in my life through the shows that I watch. So this isn't for me, but it definitely does give me like X-Men vibes that are just super dark.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I hear you. The over the top.
The gore, yeah. It's like I'm watching a horror film, and then I feel like
The
specifically in The Boys, it was also to do with like sexual nature and stuff, and I was like, I'm really not about this.
Everything is cranked up to 11.5 on The Boys. Like,
Yeah.
Like if they could think of it, and they'll do it, right? Like I think there's actually some guy's dick explodes. I think in season 2 or 3 of The Boys.
Oh really?
So
yeah. Well, there you go.
I mean, they just don't. If again, they don't care, right? It's sort of like whatever you felt was PC, we will break that fucking barrier.
Yeah, it's
down
interesting.
And shove it down your throat.
I'm also kind of like a little bit as a creator, as an actor, as a filmmaker. I feel like there are people who are intentionally trying to make you uncomfortable. Like, what's the worst thing we could think of in this situation? His dick explodes.
Sure.
God, can you imagine that happening? That makes you cringe. Like, yeah, let's go with that. Like, there are people who are like that, specifically in gory horror films as well. They're like, what's going to make this worse and uncomfortable? You know what? Ripping this thing out of their mouth is going to, like, really make people cringe. I'm not a fan of that kind of creativity. Like, that's just me. It's personal preference. It's famous everywhere. The Saw movies are huge. I'm never a big fan of that. So I don't particularly see it as like something that I would want to be involved with creating or watch it back. Like there's just no level of interest here for me because I'm like, I don't really need to see it. It makes me squeamish and I'm not usually a squeamish person. I never was.
Yeah.
but it
No,
just
I hear
it
ya.
makes me feel extra uncomfortable, and I just don't feel like that's entertaining for me.
Yeah.
So I'm out of
Daniel
this one.
says, then you probably won't enjoy playing Mortal Kombat.
You know, I actually used to play Mortal Kombat, and I used to love playing Mortal Kombat because it was like the pixels, and it was a PlayStation game at the time, and an arcade game.
You got
Loved it.
You didn't do the code to unlock the blood.
Oh,
you know,
Remember the first
Probably
Mortal Kombat on the was it SNES, or you had to unlock, you had to turn it, it was like
there's like a I could
the
tolerate
Sega Genesis
yeah.
had blood, but
I
the
mean-
Nintendo didn't, and you had to like unlock a code in order to activate the blood mode. It was fascinating.
The arcade games
Back
were
in
the
the
same
day.
way. The person who put the arcade game in had to switch to be able to toggle
Switched
whether
it.
there was blood in it.
True,
Yeah, isn't that
honestly, I bleed
fascinating?
once a month. That's enough blood for me. I'm good. I don't need extra.
Touche.
Yeah.
You know what though? I do think The Boys does sort of, to your point, say what's going to make you cringe and kind of lean into that. There's part of me that appreciates that, but also I appreciate the realness of what superheroes would be like if like the wrong people had powers, right?
Yeah,
Like,
I
and
appreciate
not
that
just-
too.
That's why I like
not
it.
openly
Yeah.
evil people, just fucking shitty people, right? Like
Yeah.
just like
Yeah.
you know the guy who cut you off driving. Like imagine if that guy had a fucking superpower. You know
Yeah.
what I'm saying? Like people who just have no ability to control their emotions or had a bad growing up, and they're not like openly like going to murder people, but they make fucking stupid decisions and people die, right? Because they're super.
Right.
That to me is super fascinating, and I love that they dive into that dynamic. I don't know if I want to watch the teenage or the college version of that. I think I'm on
Okay.
the fence on this show. It kind of feels like, but maybe I'm going to dig it because maybe they're going to make fun of, like, to me this feels like a gory CW show. But maybe they're going to make fun of that, right? You,
Okay,
you know what I'm
yeah.
saying? Like, I don't want to watch the CW version of The Boys, but if
Right.
The Boys is going to make fun of the CW version of The Boys, right? You know what I'm saying?
This
Like
is
they're
like
in
not
on the
another
joke.
teen movie, kind of.
Yeah, okay. Yeah,
Totally. And I'm getting a little bit of vibes that they're in on the joke here, like that they know what they're doing, which would be really funny, right? Like imagine like watching, I don't even know, like I'm trying to think of a bad CW teen high school show, but like you get what I'm saying, like the love triangle, but then they end up doing like a threesome and then somebody dies a bloody death, like someone's dick explodes. You see what I'm saying? Like it's just
Yeah.
like it's funny, right?
Sure.
Yeah, so I'm kind of jiving with that, and I might give this a go if it's funny and the scenes are poignant.
Fair.
Right.
I don't know. You guys on the Pagan, you're on the offense.
I'm not gonna
you're
watch
on
it.
You're not gonna watch it, Steph. Where are you landing?
It may be after I get caught up with The Boys, I'll decide if I really want to go there. It's got Clancy Brown. It's hard for me not to watch something that he's in.
I do love him.
Clancy. And Schwarzenegger's in here too. Patrick
Schwarzenegger, yeah, that's right.
So there you go. And he doesn't sound like unless he's like, get to the chopper. I'm not gonna.
Oh God.
Yeah, fair.
I'm just playing. I'll probably still watch this, because you know what else do I have to do? But watch television all the time. Anyway, guys, thank you. We don't have a lot of time. I have to run. I have like 1 minute to get to a meeting, so
Okay.
We're not going to do what we reco today. Next week.
I'll
we
put it
will.
in the chat though. It's called The Deepest Breath on Netflix. That's all I'll tell you. It's The Deepest Breath on Netflix. An
check
Irish
it out.
director. Please go watch it. It's a documentary.
I like that.
Yeah.
Good reco. All right, guys. Thanks everybody. You can also catch us as a podcast on CouchSoup. Just Google trailer or search Trailer Talk on anywhere you listen to your podcast, and you can listen to our sweet awesomeness in your ears wherever you're driving or jogging or doing the dishes. Pagan, you're back on Thursdays for Cracked. Yes,
I
yes,
am.
no,
2
maybe
p.m.
this week?
Thursdays,
Yes.
and the live will go Wednesdays at 8 p.m. BST, which is 12 p.m. PST.
Awesome.
Nice.
And then Screen Smash every week, Mondays and Fridays. Mondays on Twitch, Fridays on YouTube, and then Watching Now is coming back for Ahsoka. We are super stoked, Steph. I, for one, can't wait to hear your all's recaps. I guarantee you, if you're into Ahsoka and you want the best breakdowns, Google Watching Now, Google CouchSoup. Come find the Watching Now podcast, breaking down of the Ahsoka series when it comes out. Until next time, guys. Thank you, Steph, for joining us.
Thanks,
and
Steph.
giving us all your
Pleasure.
knowledge. That was awesome.
All
Thank you,
right.
Pagan, for just being here.
You're welcome. Pleasure.
Yeah, that's all.
Love you guys.
Pleasure. Thanks, Drew.
Love you guys.
Love you
We'll
guys.
talk soon. Till next time.
Till next time. Bye.
Bye.